All right, guys. Well, I'm back today with one of the smoothest shooting 9mm uppers I've ever had out to the channel. What we are looking at is the brand new Mean Arms bearing delayed upper receiver with their polymer handguard. This is a game changer in my opinion when it comes to 9mm carbines because it truly transforms the way it interfaces with the user via the recoil and overall balance of the rifle itself. If you're looking for a competitive rifle or something to take to the range and rattle off shots without the traditional blowback recoil of a 9mm, you'll want to watch this entire video. Now, I got a chance to shoot these at the IV88 YouTube shoot, fell in love with the overall performance, and Mean Arms sent the 16-inch version out to the channel at my request, along with a few extra lifters, which we'll talk about in a second, that interface with the ball bearings to allow different dwell times depending on the ammunition you select, making this incredibly tunable for whatever type of shooting you're doing. Before we get too far into the review, I want to give a huge shout out to Nautilus Ammo for sponsoring the 9mm to help make this video. I utilize both their 115 and 124 grain, which really packs a punch, and I've got the code 704 Tactical with these guys to save you some money. All of the information and code will be in the description below. Now let's dig into this upper. The first thing I want to discuss is the bearing delayed system that's inside the bolt, and in a little while we will take out the bolt and show you guys what I'm talking about. But what this allows for is a smooth recoil impulse against the shooter, making it incredibly easy to rattle off shots and make two-shot impacts and transition from target to target. This also lends in reliability and overall performance, especially with the different lifters. I want to show you guys these real quick because that's one of the key features of this upper. Now, the lifter that's included in the bolt when you get the upper assembly is going to work out perfectly for carbine buffer systems, and that's one of the first questions a lot of guys are going to ask is, what is this compatible with? What you're looking at is a KAK standard mil-spec lower with a mil-spec trigger and a standard carbine buffer and spring, and it dropped on and worked out perfectly utilizing the endo mags included with this upper assembly. You actually get two endo mag guts, not the actual mag itself, but the guts that go into a PMag that are extract or ejectorless, allowing it to run with this upper assembly. So you get everything you need in the box to allow it to run with a standard mil-spec lower. This also runs with a wide variety of different lower assemblies, including some dedicated 9mm lower assemblies with some different modifications because the ejector itself is actually built into the bolt rather than the lower or the upper, which is incredibly convenient, especially when you're running those endo mags. My favorite option to run this upper assembly is getting a standard mil-spec lower, using the endo mags, and you are good to go. I was running them really nice. Then you can just swap back out to a 5.56 upper with no actual modifications to the lower assembly. If you're in a state or just in some type of situation where you really only want one lower assembly, but you want to shoot 9mm, maybe for practice or competitive style shooting, this is a great option because you can easily swap it out on a standard mil-spec lower and you're good to go. I also like it because those endo mags fit nicely into a lot of the 5.56 mag pouches that you may already have your plate carrier set up for. So there's no need to have two different plate carrier setups depending on what you're running or two different chest rigs. It's really nice because it fits in those standard P mags. Works out great. Now, the upper assemblies come in a few different barrel lengths, including 4.5 inches, 7.5 inches, 11 inches, 14.5, and 16 inch, and that's what I have here. The cool thing about this upper as well is the fact that it actually features a polymer handguard. So now that we've kind of covered a summary of the entire upper, let's start from the front, work our way to the back, and then dig a little bit more into detail about how this bearing system works. Right off the bat, you get an incredibly nice competitive muzzle brake that you can tune with a locking nut. It sits on a very nice barrel system. No matter what length you get, it's going to work out great because it is such a nice muzzle brake. Surrounding that barrel system is their polymer handguard. Now, this has a steel ring reinforcement at the end for the mating surfaces, but this polymer handguard is really nice because while I was shooting FA at the IV88 YouTube shoot, it did not heat up. You can go back through some of my YouTube shorts, and this is insanely impressive. The Endomag is generally a molder. So they really are good at molding a lot of different polymers and working with really heat resistant polymers, and that's what this is made of. So it reflects and redirects heat. It doesn't suck up heat, so it's really nice on your hand. You can dump mag after mag, reach up, grab the rail, and you're not going to feel that heat transfer. So I absolutely love it. And since you're not running a gas tube or a gas block in here, that adds a lot too. So if you want to run competitive shooting or just dump tons of rounds through something down at the range, I would highly recommend grabbing this upper assembly because it works out great. Now, I had no issues with this being polymer. It's fairly rigid. It works out great. It's probably not the most durable rail system in the world, but it locks up solid and it works out incredibly well. It mates up with that aluminum receiver, and you have anti-rotation tabs built in. And if you have any questions about the Mean Arms upper assemblies in more detail than what I can give in one video, you'll want to head over to their website and dig through some of their manuals because, man, do these guys explain everything very nicely. This is a premium upper assembly, and they go through some really good detail in their instruction manual and online. Moving to the upper itself, it depends on which version you get, but they all have those dust covers right there and the extended latch charging handle, which works out great down at the range. Before we go through the rest of this review, I'm going to actually disassemble this off camera per YouTube's rules. We'll come back and actually take a look at the bearing delayed bolt. So here is the bolt itself, and I tried to wipe it off, but I put way too many rounds through it. Not for the gun, just I wasn't planning on shooting this much with this upper receiver, but it was so fun down at the range. Now these ball bearings interface like a traditional roller in a roller delayed system. You take all the benefits of that roller delayed system, reliability, durability, low recoil, and then you can transform that into the traditional AR platform. Now because of the ball bearings that they use, they have 50% more contact than the surface area of traditional rollers, so it helps delay that dwell time and really get it fine-tuned to just make everything a great shooting experience. The other cool thing again is you get multiple lifters, 2 in the box, and you can buy more depending on what load you want to increase or decrease dwell time. So if you're shooting really light loads and you have everything dialed in for a competitive scenario, that'll work out great. The other thing is if you're running suppressed or 124 grain NATO spec hard-hitting ammo, you can swap that lifter to be a little bit more difficult. So then again, it just works out great down at the range. Now, with all those technical specs and details and kind of overall summary out of the way, I really want to discuss how it felt to shoot it at the range with a few range trips with this, as well as the range trip down at the IV88 YouTube shoot. One thing I want to mention about the IV88 YouTube shoot was the fact that a lot of people run the guns there. I did not see any parts breakages or failures, although I wasn't at the booth all day. But while I was watching there, sitting there and waiting in line, I probably saw close to 1,000 rounds go through some of their upper assemblies and FA with no issues whatsoever. Then I got my sample that was sent to me by Mean Arms, and I've been running it down at the range with no issues whatsoever. It functions great, and this really shoots like a finely tuned 5.56, and that's saying something because if you ever shot 9mm, a direct blowback, you know that the recoil impulse is much more stout, sharp, and crisp than a standard 5.56. So this one smooths everything out, lightens that felt recoil, and just runs incredibly reliably down at the range with 100% function no matter what ammo I put through it. If you're new to the channel, you'll definitely want to consider subscribing because I'm doing a lot more videos about this upper assembly. I'm really excited to see the performance of this over time and take it to the range a little bit more, but I can highly recommend it. All of the information will be in the description below. And thanks to Mean Arms for sending this out and letting me run a ton of rounds through it at the IV88 YouTube shoot. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.